Boom! Plurring sword slammed into the obsidian surface of the arcane dome, unleashing a deafening roar like a lightning bolt striking solid ground. The immense recoil flung the young warrior several yards backward, agonizing pain ripping through his body as if his very bones would shatter. He collapsed to the earth, but through gritted teeth he forced himself to look up at the terrifying barrier, his eyes blazing with an unyielding defiance. It was too strong. A purely physical attack would never break it. Meanwhile, at the heart of the ritual, Kun Amnat, on the verge of the final incantation, suddenly froze. His previously closed eyes snapped open, wide with a mixture of shock and furious rage. "This power, the bloodline of the night!" he spat, his voice laced with venom. The tremor he'd felt wasn't just a clash of ordinary energies, it was the pure, ancient power of the very bloodline that stood in direct opposition to the sun bloodline he was about to merge with. That boy, how did he get here? His smug self-assurance twisted into absolute irritation. His ritual could not be halted now, but he couldn't allow such a critical variable to destroy everything he had built. Utterly vexing, Kun Amnat snarled, a furious wave of his hand. "Shadow beasts, go deal with the intruder!" At his command, the surface of the arcane dome Plurring had been staring at rippled. Several tendrils of black shadow surged forth from the energy dome, coalescing into the forms of monstrous beasts. Their bodies were ethereal, their eyes mere crimson points blazing with murderous intent. They let out a formless shriek before lunging at Plurring from all directions. Plurring surged to his feet, bracing for impact. His sword flashed out with blinding speed and precision. The sharp blade cut through one of the shadow beasts, but met no resistance. The form dissolved into black smoke, only to re-coalesce just as quickly. "Damn it!" Plurring cursed, instantly realizing these creatures were merely extensions of the arcane dome. Normal attacks were useless. One shadow beast seized his momentary distraction, its shadowy claws raking across his back, tearing a long, deep wound that splattered fresh blood. Plurring roared in pain, but instead of fear, he felt something strange. As the beast's claws touched him, the power of his bloodline of the night reacted with an explosive surge. He understood now, not destruction, but interference. Plurring ignored the remaining shadow beasts. Gathering every ounce of his remaining strength, he charged through their encirclement, hurtling back towards the arcane dome. This time he didn't use his sword. Instead, he slammed his open palm directly onto its frigid surface. Plurring screamed at the top of his lungs as the malevolent energy from the arcane dome flooded into his body, trying to rip his very soul to shreds. But at the same time, he unleashed the full power of the bloodline of the night, pushing back with equal ferocity. It was a clash of two forms of dark power, the twisted, corrupt dark magic of Kun Amnat and the pure yet ancient power of the night flowing through Plurring's veins. Crack! Crack! Boom! On the perfectly smooth surface of the arcane dome, tiny fissures now appeared, cracks that glowed with an emanating light. Kun Amnat felt the breach, and his eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible! Plurring poured his last ounce of power, forcing the energy of the night bloodline into the crack, widening it just enough for a single person to squeeze through. Without hesitation, he tore his hand from the dome and plunged through the rapidly closing gap. Whoosh! The gap sealed instantly behind him, completely cutting him off from the outside world. Plurring collapsed to his knees on the damp grass within the castle grounds. He gasped for air, his wound on his back still throbbing, but he had done it. He was inside. Before him loomed the dark castle, not far away. Its highest spire was where he felt the most concentrated power and where Ancelli was. Plurring used his sword to slowly push himself back to his feet. Though wounded and exhausted, his eyes blazed with a renewed fire of hope and determination. The true battle was about to begin.